Hey y'all, welcome to week two. I haven't done a video for this class, so my name is Manuela. Hello. But for this week, I think the thing that I found most powerful and useful in the readings was in the first mini module, The Power of Career Stories, Reinventing Your Personal Brand article. There was a lot of really insightful ways to reframe the changes that we make in our lives so that they're more palatable for other people and for like a career world and a more professional setting. And one quote that really stood out to me in that article was the key is to not explain your transition in terms of your own interests, parentheses, quote, I was bored with my job and decided to try something else, end quote, or, quote, I'm on a personal journey to find the real me, end quote, close parentheses, but to focus on the value of your prior experience, the value your prior experience brings. So I feel like that's a really good way to reframe the actions that we take in our career journeys and the way it like is beneficial for the new career that we're coming into. It brings more of an assertive connotation to what we're saying instead of us being like, well, I'm not really sure if I'm doing this because like I'm just trying to figure it out. It makes it sound like yes, actually, I used to do this and now I do this. And that's a full statement, which kind of relates to one of the other articles about 8 ways women undermine themselves with their words. Like the way that we talk about these transitions and either the gaps in our career trajectory or the switches from one career lane to another. Like if we speak about it assertively and just as something that's going to bring value to our new career instead of saying like we thought we knew what we were doing but we really didn't and then we had to and like interject to a different career, it changes its value and it changes the way that we're perceived by people and it changes how much respect we're going to receive in society, and like that's really important to be aware of and to take into account as we're like making these choices throughout our career. Another material in this week's readings that I found really powerful and really useful was the TED Talk, Your Body Language May Shape Who You Are, and like the idea of power posing and faking it until you become it instead of faking it until you make it. I think it's really important to like emphasize that change and that you're gonna like become the thing that you're pretending to be. Um, and I tried it before I had a job interview earlier today, and I felt great and confident during my entire job interview. So do with that what you will. I think it apparently seems to work pretty well. In terms of the things we learned this week about professional presentation, I think it's difficult for me to say that I'm going to take a lot of these things with me into my future because as a person of color, like we have to code switch all the time in society to fit into these professional standards. And like, not every person of color, this doesn't apply to every single one, but for the most part, we do have to present in a certain way in order to be seen as professional, and a lot of the things that are natural to people of color like are not viewed as professional. A lot of the things that are part of our culture as not are not viewed as professional, and so there has to be a fine line between that like cultural competency that is mentioned in some of the other readings, and I'll touch on that a little bit too, but there has to be a fine line between that and the very narrow descriptors of like wear dark colors to look professional, wear your hair in this way, don't wear big hoops. Like a lot of those things are cultural. And if I have to present myself in this way in order to obtain the job, and if I will not be taken seriously unless I present myself that way during the interview, then how much is my culture going to be respected in this space once I become a part of the organization? And so I'm not really sure where I stand on that and like how much of that I will be applying into my own life. And I think that also leads me to the articles about cross-cultural competency and how a lot of that focuses on cross-cultural competency with outside nations and the US collaborating with other nations. And it ignores the fact that like the US does not have one singular culture. There's a lot of different cultures within the US, and that competency has to exist for people who immigrated to this country, for people who are African American or Black within this country and have a different culture than the white people who exist in this country. Like even just religions within people of the same culture, like I mean of the same race. There's so many different cultures that we need to take into account right now in our workplaces and not for some idea of success in the future from a nationalistic viewpoint because there's already not a singular national culture for us to be taking into account. In terms of my personal brand, I'm still kind of figuring out how to fit all of the different narratives together because I have dabbled in a lot of different things and do have a lot of interests and passions. But I think one key element that is the main focus right now for me is being someone who is passionate about working with youth and helping them learn how to navigate and regulate their emotions and their social relationships and interactions, and being able to guide them through this challenging time in their life that's full of like transitions and new experiences and hormones. And it doesn't really change how I think of myself as a leader. I think all of these things are relevant to my abilities as a leader. Yeah. Hope you guys are having a great week.